いかがでしたか？
Hello everyone. Thanks for tuning into today's Nintendo Direct. Before we start, we just want to say that if you have any information regarding Pyoro on Twitter, please report him to us as soon as possible. We promise that we will treat him with respect as civil as possible, and we will in no way execute him for leaking our projects on his account without permission. Thanks in advance.
Mario in the gang, you probably know my name. And so we start the game, jumping high, ducking low, from the sky to the ocean. How come Peach can't stop being stolen? Need the Firefly or Star Power now for Bowser. Koopa Troopa, Super Goomba, soon to lose a life. It's me and Peach and Luigi, so you know. Stop it, don't rock and roll, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Many years ago, Mario was not getting any new titles for quite some time, and it really annoyed me because he's obviously the best video game franchise in all of history. But now, after the success of the Mario movie, Nintendo won't stop feeding us Mario content! Seriously, Nintendo, I just started college. I have funds to pay. So, anyway, we just had a Nintendo Direct that lasted for 40 minutes, and within those 40 minutes, there were surprises around every corner. First, they gave us a remaster of one of the best and most underrated Game Boy Advance games, Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Now, to be honest, I was actually expecting something Mario vs. Donkey Kong related because for the past few days before that Nintendo Direct, there was this user on Twitter named Pioro who has been leaking a bunch of info on what seemed to be a bunch of Nintendo projects in development. And now looking back at the tweets, yeah, this dude wasn't playing around because look at all of this! One thing's for sure, Mario fans, myself included, are feasting. We're having an early Thanksgiving dinner. So in today's video, I kind of want to just go over some of the Mario announcements that we've gotten in that Nintendo Direct because there were just a lot. And I just had a whole bunch of thoughts on practically every Mario-related, project that was announced in that Direct. So I feel it was best for me to make a whole video on it. I mean, I'll try to make this as interesting as possible. But then again, you don't have to watch this video if you don't want to, because, I basically proved how much of a Mario nerd I am, if you haven't looked over there already. The first game I want to talk about is the Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake. One thing I thought was weird was how this was one of those announcements that not really a whole lot of people seemed to care for, which I thought was really weird because this was actually a really great game. I mean, it's probably the only good game in the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, if I'm being for real, because because this series had like a bunch of sequels and everything for like the DS, the DSi, the 3DS, and the Wii U. There were like a ton of these like Mario vs. Donkey Kong games where they had you like controlling the mini Marios and the mini Toads and mini Peaches and mini Donkey Kongs through like the touch screen. And yeah, I can understand why people don't really care for this series a lot because it's just really repetitive because in every new installment of the series, they always have you just guiding these damn minis and it was just annoying, stressful, and just that was the whole game. Just like, oh, you control these mini Marios and you just get them from point A to point B. And that was the whole point of those games. But not the GBA game, because not only was this the first one in the series, but it's actually fun to play. Seriously, y'all have no idea how many countless hours I've put into the Game Boy Advance game on the GBA emulator. I played this game non-stop when I was in high school, and I still do because it's just a really enjoyable game. So basically the premise of it is, Donkey Kong steals the mini Marios from the Mario Toy Factory, and you actually play as Mario himself, of course, and you just go through like a bunch of puzzles and challenges and just platforming segments, and it's really fun to play, trust me. You should try out the game. I mean, now you can because there's a remake, but the game's just really fun, because I played it for quite so many years, and I mostly just played the sequels on the DS, but then after a few years of that, I found out about the Game Boy Advance game, and I wanted to play that desperately. So I eventually did get to play it, and really had a fun time with it. I don't know if many of you know this, but there was this one game called Donkey Kong 94 for the Game Boy, the original one, and it was basically, obviously, based off the Donkey Kong arcade game, and it was like, oh, well, it's just a port of the old Donkey Kong arcade game. No, it's not that. It's much more. It just takes that concept and just does like a bunch of ideas with it, and it's basically puzzling and platforming. It may sound like, pretty boring, but trust me, it's pretty enjoyable. I even have that Game Boy game on my 3DS on the Virtual Console. And that Donkey Kong 94 game is what Mario vs. Donkey Kong is based off of. And yeah, ever since I've been on Twitter, I never realized how many people hated the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games. And I can't really blame them, because every installment after the Game Boy Advance game were just below average. I actually have 2 of the sequels on the DS, and to give credit where it's due, I did have some fun with these 2 games, but not as much as I did with the Game Boy Advance one. It just feels unreal that they actually went back to the roots of this series and actually remembered that the first game wasn't totally like the other ones, because there was this one level where you played as Mario and you had to like guide the minis and get them to like a toy box or something, and those were actually kind of enjoyable, but I just, enjoyed the other levels where they just had you jumping and just grabbing the key and taking it to the door and like getting the little items and the presents and stuff like that. Yeah, the first game, it's just so fun. It just really one of those games that I feel more people should really talk about, but it just gets thrown in the pile with like the forgotten games because everyone hated the sequels. One thing that really confused me about this series was that they never bothered making these mini Mario wind-up toys in real life. I mean, seriously, these games were just based off of toy, or like the whole gimmick of these games are just, the wind-up toys and stuff like that. And they never considered making them a real object in the real world. Like, I don't really remember them ever just, making these little mini Mario toys in real life. Like, why not? They're so adorable, and I do kind of like wind-up toys. I am not like the huge sucker for them, but they just look so cool to have. Like, if they made these in real life, I would go crazy for them. Like, me younger, I would definitely go crazy, and I guess I would still go crazy for them because I'm a merch collector. But why haven't they ever made these toys in real life? Like, I want to own one. Just give me a mini Mario. I want it. I need to have it. We wants it. We needs it. We must has it now. That could possibly lead into them making products based off the mini Marios. Like, there was this one Japanese commercial that was advertising the original Game Boy Advance game, and it showed like a bunch of ladies dressed as toads, and it showed them holding the mini Marios in real time, in real life. Like, they actually looked real. And just, I was like, why? Why didn't they make these thing you can actually buy in stores? People would go nuts for these. And from the looks of it, they seem to like revamp the cutscenes, because I'm noticing that they're fully animated this time around, and that's great. Like, we need more animation with every new minute. Like in the original, the cutscenes were just like little still pictures, because obviously the Game Boy Advance couldn't produce video all that well. But now the cutscenes, they actually look good. And another thing, this was one of those Mario games where Mario actually had full-on dialogue and was basically speaking in practically at any moment in this game. Like, he said a bunch of, like, these silly little catchphrases, not his usual, Yahoo, let's go. He actually had dialogue in this game. He spoke practically every minute you had. You always hear his voice, and, yeah, that's another thing I loved about this game. We actually hear Mario, of course, we always hear him speak, but in this game, he was a full-on chatterbox, and I love that. I'm sure one of you guys have at least heard the, "Hey, come back here, you big monkey!" I'm sure one of you have to have heard that line from Mario before. You could also pull off all of these, like, super cool jumps as Mario. Like, you could do a handstand, You could do like a backflip and just so many like crazy tricks in this game. And that was another redeeming quality that this one had that the sequels did not. Yo, but for real, I am so happy to play this game in full HD, fully revamped, and with an actual controller this time, and not with like my phone or whatever. Like, it's weird how I'm just one of the few people who are really hyped for this game, and I just want to play it, and I feel others should also be hyped for it because it's a really fun game. Seriously, give it a try, or just, try out the original game on like an emulator or something. But yeah, or just, wait for this because it comes out in February, which is a little disappointing because I was kind of hoping this was going to launch this year, but we already have Mario Wonder, and that's, of course, going to be a banger title as well. But, I guess it'll be worth the wait because now I get to play this game in, better quality, and I just had a blast with the Game Boy Advance game, and I'm really looking forward to this. Another thing people don't really talk about with these games is the OSTs. Like, seriously, these set of games have so many bangers here and there. But, yeah, I'm definitely messing with this game once it drops, but, we're going to move on to the next announcement because I've already spent, like, a really awkward amount of time on this one game when there's, like, 4 other that we should talk about as well. Alright, the next game we have is the Peach game, which is called Princess Peach Showtime. Good title, by the way. So yeah, everyone and their mother was literally wondering what this game was about because they just randomly announced a Peach game was in development, a new Peach game because she had one in 2006, Super Princess Peach for the DS, that I never played, by the way, but I should someday. Everyone wanted to know what this game was about, and they kind of did that because, I kind of understand it a little more, but people are still confused on it because, like, most people were like, why is Peach getting a game? Like, just why? But this is actually a great idea. It really is. So basically, from what I saw in the trailer, Peach gets invited to some stage play called, like, Sparkle Theater, I think that's what it was called, and some evil Balan Wonderworld copycat villain just steals, like, all the stuff from the plays, I guess, and Peach is somehow the chosen one and has to do all the work and get everything back, which is weird because she doesn't really do all, if everyone's familiar with at least one Mario game, and you would know that adventure is not really mostly Peach's thing, unless if it's Super Princess Peach, Super Mario Bros. 2, Mario 3D World, and stuff like that. I think I mainly want to get this game just to see Peach in all those outfits, because many, including me, loved seeing Peach in all those outfits she wore after the credits, like after the final boss in Super Mario Odyssey. So now they're going the extra mile with it and giving her like all these stylish get-ups, and I'm all for it. I just love seeing Peach wearing like different outfits that's not just, her usual like pink dress and, The most noticeable outfit she wore in this trailer was the Sword Fighter Peach one, where she gives off that Captain Hook vibe if you just, compare the two. And my personal favorite costume she wore in this trailer had to be the detective one, because if you didn't know, I'm a sucker for anything detective related. I liked watching those like episodes in cartoons and TV shows where they just, reenact those film noir movies where they're just like, detective movies. I love those sort of things, and that's what this is reminding me of, and I'm all for it. I love detectives, and Peach as a detective is something I never knew I needed till now. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not a simp. Me simp for Princess Peach? I would never do something like that. Please stop looking at me. And we also have Pertissier Peach, I think that's how you pronounce it, where she's like a chef, and it shows like this little mini game where it shows her like, putting frosting on like a giant birthday cake or something. And that reminded me of a lot of like Mario Party for some reason. And my second favorite of the bunch, Kung Fu Peach. This was also another thing I never knew I needed. I was almost about to say they should add these in Mario Kart Tour, but then I just remembered that they were actually going to shut down Mario Kart Tour pretty soon. If we actually ever get like a new proper Mario Kart, then they should have the characters, wear alternate costumes, because that is something many people would enjoy. So yeah, I feel with this trailer, they didn't really go much in depth with like the game and just like the story and just what you have to do with it. They just showed the basics, but the game's coming out in March of next year, so maybe it in between like here and many months when the game comes out, they'll probably just talk about it like with more details, like with more breadcrumbs or something like that. But I do enjoy what I saw so far, because like I said, I just want to get the game mainly to see Peach in the costumes. She looks great, and yep, that's something I never thought that would come out of my mouth. But whatever the game is going to be about, I'm 100% on board with it. So, I guess what they're trying to do with Peach here is just, kind of give her more personality, which is always a good thing, because it's better to just not have your character be based off, like, another generic kind of, like, plot where, oh, this is the damsel in distress, so she has to get kidnapped in every new game. That shouldn't always be the case. Another thing that was brought up by the BitBlock, this YouTube channel, was that I feel like they're trying to treat Peach like Barbie or something like that. Like, she's basically Nintendo's version of Barbie, and it would make sense. They both love pink, they both have blonde hair, and they're the most famous characters from, their franchises. Obviously, Barbie, she's the main star, and Princess Peach, she's like, the main girl character of Nintendo in general. I hope they don't really try too hard to make Peach like Barbie. Another thing that was brought up by the BitBlock is I just hope they don't go too overboard with the whole Peach being Barbie thing, because Barbie, she's basically everything, kinda. Just recently she had that really overhyped and overrated movie, if you ask me, that people are saying is for some reason better than the Mario movie, even though that's obviously false. Barbie, she's just a doctor, a singer, and just anything a man can think of. But that would technically kind of make her nothing. You can be anything, but you'll always be nothing. All I'm saying is, give me more Detective Peach. Give me more of that. So yeah, Barbie, she is basically everything. Like, she's a detective, she's a secret agent, she's basically anything you can imagine. You can be anything, that's the slogan for the series. But is she really everything, though? Because, she's everything. Like, she's like a part of like any genre you can think of, but in reality, she's really nothing, because they just take Barbie and just plant her on this and just plant her on that and just like, oh, Barbie is this, Barbie is that. But in reality, that would just make her nothing, because she just has to like copy any bit of media you can possibly think of, detective, secret agent, anything. But like, just I hope that's not what they're trying to do with Peach. Like, she still could be like the character she always was. They can give her personality here and there and just have her be like, her own character. But just don't go overboard with the whole Barbie thing. They're obviously not trying to treat her like Barbie. That hasn't been confirmed and probably won't be. But I'm just worried that's what could happen. So let's not jump the shark there. Just go step by step and maybe slow down a bit every once in a while. Besides, My Little Pony is better than Barbie anyway. I really gotta stop bringing up My Little Pony in these videos now. But overall, I'm looking forward to Princess Peach Showtime, but let's just hope they talk about more about what this game's gonna be about in the near future, before it releases. Third, we have Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, another remake of another one of my favorite games from one of my favorite Mario spin-offs. Yeah, people seem to give Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon a lot of crap for, not being totally like the original where it was mission structured, there was no portrait ghosts or anything like that, but that was okay, because I love the original Luigi's Mansion. It's one of my favorite games, and I love Luigi's Mansion 3 even more. That's like my favorite one. And Dark Moon is probably the one I played the most out of the three, because it's like a top 10 3DS games for me in my book. Or maybe even top 5, like I said. Dark Moon is another underrated gem, if you ask me. I'm guessing the reason why Dark Moon was mission structured was because it was on a handheld system, the 3DS, and it was basically meant to where you could just play one mission, turn the game off, and just, later come back and just do another mission and just do that. That would, of course, make a lot more sense. But, since the original Luigi's Mansion was a home console game, you would, of course, want to spend every moment of your time with it. Same with Luigi's Mansion 3. Although with 3, it kind of is mission structured in a way because, not completely, you're still welcome to just roam around and do whatever you feel like it, but the way you just progress through the game, like you go floor by floor by floor, and it would just kind of be like levels in a way, but it's still really fun. But the original game was just fully exploratory, where you could just go wherever you feel like it, and if you had a key, you could just go to a new area and just check out there. But Dark Moon, it was just, mission structured because it was on a handheld system. And like I said, it makes sense and it works. And that's part of the reason why I think Dark Moon is a really enjoyable game. I feel it's best to just look at Dark Moon for what it is, and you shouldn't really compare it to the original game, because that would just honestly work a whole lot better if you ask me. Just look at Dark Moon for what it is. Don't compare it to the original game, like, oh, just because this game is mission structured, okay, whatever, but just see it for what it is, and you should also just praise and criticize the game for what it is. Don't compare it to anything else, because that's not really the best way to go out, if I'm being for real. And there's just much more to do in Dark Moon overall compared to the original. Like, there's a spider boss in one of the areas. You fight a staircase. You fight a giant clock tower. Not a clock tower, but it's like you're fighting a giant clock. You fight an ice monster. And, of course, a giant freaking knight. And now the game is getting a remake, or a remaster, or whatever you say it. It's getting a remaster on the Switch with, Luigi's Mansion 3 graphics. And it just makes me really excited, because this was one of my favorite 3DS games. I played the living daylights out of this game back in 2013 when it came out. It's basically 10 years old now when you think about it. Dark Moon's 10 years old. Can you believe that? But if you prefer the original game over Dark Moon, that's fine. I personally enjoy every Luigi's Mansion game for what it is. The first one, Dark Moon, and Luigi's Mansion 3. All of them have something interesting that we all can enjoy. And yeah, from the looks of it, they didn't really talk about anything new in the Luigi's Mansion 2 HD trailer. They just showed like the basics and not really anything new. I'm hoping there's at least one thing in this whole remake that's actually new and fresh. Like maybe some elements from Luigi's Mansion 3 or the original. And for some reason, this game's coming out in summer of 2024, which is a little weird, because like, why? It's a spooky game. Wouldn't it make more sense to release it during the fall or Halloween season? Well, either way, we have to wait a long time for just a remake of Dark Moon, which, I don't know. I'm hyped to play it, but we have to wait a long-ass time to play it. Like, why? It's a remake, I get it. It's not really anything new, but, like, summer of 2024? Really? Oh, well, I'll just, do the usual, buy it and do a live stream of it and just, try out the game, and hopefully I will enjoy it as much as I did with the original. Alright, so this next one is not really something I care about a whole lot, but it's WarioWare Move It. And yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of the WarioWare games, because if you've played one WarioWare game, you've basically played them all. It's just a micro game collection, which is of course enjoyable for, family and friends, but by yourself, it's just kind of meh overall. And WarioWare Move It seems to just be smooth moves from the Wii, but just on the Switch now, with even wackier motion controls and just movements. I would kind of appreciate it a little more if they did like a new Wario adventure game, like Wario Land and Wario World on the GameCube. Why not do like another, Wario adventure game where you just play as Wario and you go on like your own adventure and just do stuff? Like Wario Land Shake It on Wii. That game was kind of fun. So yeah, not really a whole lot to say on WarioWare Move It, but I guess maybe I'll try it out. It'll probably just be a pass from me overall. If you're hyped for it, that's fine. Go have fun, play it. I'm not gonna stop you, but I'm just probably gonna sit back and wait for an actual new Wario game, like a new Wario adventure game, because that is something I would definitely enjoy if they actually did make that a reality. Alright, now it's time we got to the main meal. The Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door remake. The announcement that I really did not think we were going to get and we did not really need for the most part, but I still feel the same way as I did in my reaction video where I was like, no, why would you do this? I still feel that way. Like, sure, just casually drop an announcement of one of the most highly praised Mario games, just randomly announce it at the end of a direct. Announce that the game is getting a full HD, or not HD, like just a full-on remake on the Switch. This game, a game that gets highly praised by Mario fans all over the world. Sure, just do that. Like, why? I didn't want to believe this was real, but apparently it is. And I'm gonna take a lot of crap for this, but Paper Mario fans, especially the Thousand Year Door fans, like the 5 million of them, y'all did not deserve this. I'm sorry, but that's for true. Y'all did not deserve this. Because with the amount of crap that the Paper Mario fans have put in through Nintendo through, constantly demanding a Thousand Year Door remake, why would you do this? Well, for all I'm gonna say is every Thousand Year Door fan that has been asking for something like this, for the longest of time now, y'all better enjoy every minute of this remake. Y'all better enjoy it. I don't want to see a single bit of criticism for this game. Y'all wanted it, and your freaking godfathers delivered. One person that I immediately thought of after the announcement was Arlo. The monstery Muppet-looking dude that did a rant on Sonic 2 that pretty much everyone despised. Like the movie, not the game, but, he's like the one dude that I could not... I didn't think of anyone else but Arlo after this announcement, because he's a huge sucker for this game. And can't really blame him, but I should also be happy too. I mean, I am, because now I get to play this game and finally try to understand why this game gets so much praise for being the best Paper Mario game, even though I don't really think that is, because Super Paper Mario is better. And yes, I said it. Super Paper Mario is better than Thousand Year Door. Fight me. Thousand Year Door fans did nothing but criticize modern Paper Mario. Not for the games themselves, but because they weren't like their favorite games. Like, I'm one of the few 10 people on this planet that really enjoyed Paper Mario the Origami King. I thought the game was fine. I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. Sure, not as much as Super Paper Mario, but it was a fine game to me. But people hated it. A lot of people hated it because it was just like the last two, Sticker Star and Color Splash, and not like the first 3 Paper Mario games. Ones that are completely different and almost don't share any similarities to the new ones, but people just criticized Origami King because it wasn't the Thousand Year Door. Color Splash was also hated by many, but I thought the game was okay for what it was. The battle system is like the worst battle system of any Paper Mario game, but kind of ignoring that, even though the battle system is kind of one of the main things of Paper Mario, there were plenty of, decent stuff in Color Splash to enjoy. The writing, the humor, the jokes, the music, practically anything else that isn't really, bad about Color Splash, it was fine to me. Speaking of which, Color Splash is probably the Mario game with the most adult humor when you think about it. And, as for Sticker Star, we don't talk about this crap. Super Paper Mario, in my opinion, is one of the most unique Mario games in general. The story, the characters, the worlds, everything about this game really speaks to me. I just love how in this game they combined like a bunch of unique gameplay styles and just threw them all into one. And that's what Super Paper Mario is. This is probably the only Mario game that I can ever see having a deep story, a dark analogy, and just a really bizarre conclusion overall. Still, this just doesn't feel real. Like, why would they do this? Why would they remake Thousand Year Door? Why are they suddenly doing what the fans are requesting? Because back when Origami King came out, there was this interview that most people hated, and one of the people stated that it's no longer possible to stylize the Mario characters and make them look unique like how the first two Paper Mario games did. Which I thought was pretty weird because there are like several instances after the first three Paper Mario games where they stylize the characters and make them look, interesting and have like unique designs and stuff like that. And just now they're going back to Thousand Year Door and just, doing everything from scratch. And another thing, people were excited about the white outlines not being on the characters, like how it was on Color Splash and Origami King. Even though on the Super Paper Mario artwork, it shows white outlines around the characters. So, why didn't people like the white outlines? To me, I felt, it added more charm and proportions to the fact that you're supposed to think that you're like reading a book. Like, that's how Paper Mario was kind of viewed, where it was like you were reading a storybook and just finding out like about all the characters and just their designs. And it was also kind of like you were watching an arts and crafts movie. That's how I kind of viewed the Paper Mario games. And I said this on my Twitter as well, but like, the whole white outline argument is basically Mario fans' version of the whole Sonic short quills and long quills debate. It's that stupid. But, yep, Thousand Year Door is getting a remake, and I still don't know how I feel about it. I feel so many feelings right now. I'm having mixed emotions. Happy because I finally get to play a Mario game that I wanted to play for so long, but also just upset because Nintendo actually cares for the Thousand Year Door fans, despite all of the crap they've put them through. Well, it was announced, can't do anything about it, but it's just really weird how this was the last announcement we get, and they're making it right next to the Super Mario RPG remake. And yeah, we're getting two remakes of two of Mario's most famous RPGs. It's a weird timeline we're living in right now. Sheesh, I can't believe they announced all of this Mario stuff with just one Direct. If you ask me, this Direct was even better than the Mario Direct we had back in 2020, where it was just a full-on Mario Direct, but this was just more of a Mario Direct than that ever felt. Because there were Mario announcements everywhere. We have Mario Wonder, the Peach game, Thousand Year Door, Mario vs. Donkey Kong. We have basically anything a Mario fan can think of. They are truly making sure that we know Mario is the mascot of Nintendo, because just look at all these games! There's so many games coming out, and I want to play every single one of them. So yeah, this is weird. But anyway, that's all I'm gonna be talking about in this video. Hope you all were able to sit around for the whole thing and, view my perspective of all these announcements, because I've certainly said a lot, and I just would love to hear your thoughts as well. Like, what Mario game are you hyped for the most from this Direct? Feel free to let me know your thoughts. I told you all my thoughts. Now I want to hear yours. Alright, everyone, so this just doesn't really feel real. Like, the Thousand Year Door trailer just alone just doesn't really feel real. Like, is this really happening? We're actually getting a remaster of this game? Why? We don't deserve this. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Bye!